Yeah, I'm back, Dilly. Thank you.
Okay, how we doing now?
So good.
Yep, should be. I'm making sure. Just let me
Mhm.
know if it gets weird.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
All right. I'm hearing my echo. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. My echo. I'm hearing it.
I don't hear an echo on you.
No, I hear it on my side.
Oh, you hear it on your
No,
side.
okay, not anymore.
Okay,
Not anymore.
good. This,
Okay.
this is Wi-Fi, so at least you know it ain't us.
Yeah. hmm
Okay.
So where we left off is like, basically when choreography is being thought, like, a relationship forms. And like, a month later, or like, a year after, or more years, or like after, it turns out to be a shitty relationship, abusive relationship, and that's what leads the man and woman to be on drugs. And that's very common in the music industry. This has been going on for years. Most of these, like, singers, legendary, iconic, like, they go through those issues.
hmm Well, I mean, it's like I was saying before we had got cut off. I mean, it's give and take, and a lot of times, I've always said my instincts on the street level are the best. You just have to know who you're dealing with. And a lot of times what happens is that a lot of times we're not sure of who we're dealing with because people come in different forms, they put on different
Mhm.
characters when you meet them, and the next thing you know, you get settled with them. Then it becomes another
Yeah.
story. You didn't know that person was like that. So
hmm
it's a lot of variables to consider when you're dealing in that capacity. So there have been
hmm
situations in the land of dance and choreography and artistry where two people get together and it's magic, and then they end up staying married for 25, 30, 40 plus years. And then there's situations where two people link up, they hook up a couple of times and it becomes shitty, and then the person sometimes becomes psycho, or it's so many variables in that one statement that you made. Hey Simone, how you doing? I see you. Hey Sama. Yeah, so
hmm
a real different thing. I always say it depends on who you're dealing with. So 9 times out of 10, you definitely want to make sure anybody you choose to have any kind of relations with,
Uh-huh.
I say this should be sane first. Sane is the most important thing, because if you're not sane, then the whole part of that and everything else with it goes in. And to Dilly said,
hmm
business and pleasure, family, um, don't go together.
Exactly.
No, that's true. But again, like I said earlier, natural chemistry is real, though. Let's not get it twisted. Natural chemistry is real. At the same time,
Don't mix business with pleasure.
exactly, because the first instant
hmm
I told you earlier, like when I work with a female, I'm not aiming to sleep with that female. That's not in my mind. It's not in my position. I'm all about the artistry. And back in the day, there were situations where, of course, a couple of dancers that were in my troupe, we went on a few dates and great things. We're still close to this day because, again, we had a conversation. It was a communication. She told me, like, I kind of been digging you for a minute. I'm like, well, it's funny because I actually digged you too, but I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want that whole,
hmm
we're doing business. I don't want it to get twisted, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then
hmm
so that's me. My mother raised me right, and my mother didn't raise no fool. So for me, it's always
Yeah, exactly.
of communication upon natural chemistry. The problem here is that
hmm
a lot of motherfuckers try to force chemistry. That's where the lines get blurred. You can't force
hmm
chemistry. See, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of guys, they do that. Some girls do it too,
hmm
but mostly the guys do it. The guys want to force,
Uh-huh.
see something that they like, and they happen to be working, and they try to, and the girl could have a man. That's the crazy thing. The girl could have a man, and they think that because they're, they're paid, or they have a little bit of
hmm
power in the industry, they can use that to get the girl to do whatever you want. And as soon as a girl turns them
hmm
down, now all of a sudden they're not giving them free studio time. They're not looking out for them. They go to an industry party,
Yeah.
that whole. I've seen that happen on
hmm
so many levels, and I knew right then
hmm
and there.
And you even see it on, like, reality television.
Of
You hear
course.
the story about it.
hmm
I mean, like, that's the common issue.
The thing with
They don't have feelings for the girl. They just want to use the girl.
the thing with me is I never wanted to be that guy. I was raised differently. You gotta remember, I come from a
Mm-hmm.
family of women. I have daughters. I have sisters. It's different for me. So my mindset, even as a teenager, was always just pretty much be professional, do the work. And if natural chemistry happens to happen, we have a conversation, then it'll happen. But other than that, I'm not going to be that guy trying to force myself on any woman or to force. And I don't even force friendship. So picture me trying to force a relationship with somebody. I don't even force
Mm-hmm.
friendships. If it ain't natural, if we don't click, we just don't click.
Yeah.
That's simple. I'm not.
I mean, yeah, yeah, and like I'm the type that I don't like the fake friendship. If I see you as a fake person and you try to be friends with me, I will ignore you like you a freaking brick wall. That's
Yeah.
just who I am. I don't tolerate the fake shit.
Well, of course not. Look, we're from Brooklyn. We don't do fake. Brooklyn,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that's the standard I've always lived by. That's why my integrity in this business. And I tell people all the time, you're not going to hear no crazy stories about me. You're not going to hear any ex
Yeah.
coming out. You ain't going to see no ex showing up to my shows with a butcher knife talking about I hate that nigga, I'm gonna kill him, or any other shit like
Hmm.
that. Because I've never
Hmm.
operated like that. See, the difference is that when you
Uh-huh.
operate in integrity and have character and have respect for yourself, you won't have to worry
Yeah.
about the reputation of you being that
Hmm.
person. Any woman that I have ever dealt with where a situation like that happened, like I told you a couple of times, natural chemistry did happen. But guess what? There was a conversation that was had. It wasn't just some I'm assuming or I'm going to make sure that this happens. If we're grown, if we're having a conversation about feelings for each other or something like that, we're going to be real about it, and we're going to see where it goes from there. But I'm not going to be the one to be like, oh well, yeah, I'm lost. She going to get my name. That shit is corny.
Yeah.
I was that guy in the
Um.
industry. I never want to be that guy. So
Yeah, and like do you know what else is corny? When a guy try to force himself on a woman, and like the woman will be ignoring and try to keep it her distance away from him. It's like, why you getting an attitude? I want to get to know you. I'm a good guy. If a guy says that to a woman, that means that guy like he might be a serial killer or rapist. It's
ain't
like a bad
I
guy
was
and
I
abuser.
was just going to say at that point it ain't even corny. You're basically
Hmm.
a rapist and a dude that can't control his hormones.
Hmm.
So it's not I can't even say corny at that point. Any dude that if you don't get the picture when she says no and she's not interested and you're still trying to get that is sexual harassment and that is you
Yeah.
basically at the rape charge. It's no getting around it.
Hmm.
Here-
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a stay far away from me, Vanessa, because guys that do that, oh my gosh, to me, I will come to them like I'm a tiger, like I'm a crazy person. It's like I'm a female. It's like I know how guys operate. I don't tolerate that shit.
Mhm.
I don't tolerate it at all.
And you don't have to. You don't have to. As a stand-up woman, especially
Hmm.
as a black woman, you really don't have to
Yeah,
do it. It's creepy. It's psycho.
yeah,
It's
yeah. It is
it's
creepy. She's right. It's creepy. I
yeah. We
don't
don't
like
we don't
that.
we don't do creepy. We don't do that. I don't even. I detest that shit. So
Mm-hmm. So like going back like like tell us about like your new single "Please Don't Stop" and your new album.
well, it's not a single yet, but you're talking about "Please Don't Shoot."
Oh,
That's
please don't
from,
shoot.
from
Yes.
from the forthcoming album, Humanity 101. It's going to be my political social album, which I'm basically, for all the people who've been following me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram for the last 10, 15 years or so, I've shouted out my political tirades. I don't like to call them rants because rants is people that just want to hear themselves talk. I prefer to call it truth. And most times, I've been trying to educate a lot of people about our beloved American government system, and I say that very sarcastically. I've been trying to educate people for the longest about that. It gets met with resistance because it seemed like a lot of people who claim to be fans of mine, when I start talking the real shit about what this country was built on, then it becomes
Mhm.
the whole thing of, well, that's not fair. Well, things are different. Things have changed. I said, yeah, and some things haven't changed for the better. Some things changed for the worse. So my thing is that, and I'm optimistic by all accounts, but my thing is that we got to call it what it is. And the bottom line is that we're still dealing with the same bullshit that a lot of
Uh-huh.
dealt with 60 something years ago, even 100 years ago. So for me, it's almost
yeah, it's like
almost
it's ridiculous.
stereo.
We just like hearing like innocent like people our color getting shoot left and right,
Mhm.
killed left and right by ignorant people, by like cops.
Mhm. And for me, it's "Fuck the Police" by NWA is my favorite rap song of all time for obvious reasons. And
Hmm.
you had to be there. I always tell people you had to be there when that record was made and why it was made. 'Cause a lot of people think differently,
Hmm.
and people had to suppose to, oh, it's against law enforcement or any things of that nature.
Hmm.
But the bottom line is that when you see a lot of innocent people getting shot when they were trying to show license and registration, and you have a young black man that can't even make it back home to his family because he's being profiled based upon an old case or based upon just even not even having a case. So in any event, I talk about that and many of these things on this record. It was originally going to be an EP, but my writing got the best of me. I got into this real Marvin Gaye phase, because it's very similar to the What's Going On album. Like, I'm really talking about a lot of things that are affecting our communities, a lot of young kids who are taking their lives, a lot of rappers who are dying off of their own admission because they can't control their habit. We
Hmm.
don't talk about mental health
Yeah.
stuff. It's a lot of
No, it's very traumatizing, like, for the family members. It's like, they're grieving every day because it's like, their loved ones, like somebody really important to them, like, their lives are being taken away. It's like since 2000, like, and like 20, we've been like, living in a very traumatizing moment. This pandemic, like, people our color, like, they're being killed. It's sad. It's like, when is all of this going to stop? And like, it got to the point, like, when or where I wanted to go out there to protest myself. And like, as time goes by, I'm definitely gonna go out there and protest if this just keeps getting worse, because it's like we just can't, like, turn on like, on the TV to the news and hear it that this person got killed, this person got shot. It's like it's just like very sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's to someone like my mother. One of the songs on my album is called "Son of a Black Panther Mother." As most people know, in addition to my mom being one of the baddest singers in New York City, my mother was also a former Black Panther. She was part of the chapter here in New York. And when you learn those lessons, to watch my mother get angry at the state of what things were going on during the Trump administration, to her it was like a repeat of a bad movie. So for me, it filtered down to
Hmm.
children because we were raised enough to know what this country was built on and what the real landmarks of certain situations entail. Because on another song on the album is called America's Inception, where I talk about how America was built. A lot of people sometimes they want to try to throw that part under the rug, but you can't throw that under the rug. You understand what I'm saying? It's almost like, I
Hmm.
put that in the chorus. It's called "You Better Run, Baby, Run for Your Protection." That's the way it's been since
Yeah.
America's inception. And I want to really touch upon that. So that's one of my favorite songs so far. And I just saw what Dilly said. My condolences.
Yeah, happy heavenly birthday to him.
Yes, happy birthday to him. Condolences. May he rest in power.
Hmm.
It's just it's interesting. So I want to have an album out of all my albums. And I told people, and don't get me wrong, because musically it's still pretty much everything Law represents. You're still going to get your funk
Yeah.
and your hip hop and your rock and your R&B and a little bit of jazz. I think that's the spoken word on this record because I want to keep it very much in the text of
Hmm.
my very pro-black album. The reason why the name of the album is called Humanity 101, because it represents me. 101, of course, is like a school, it's like we're teaching. If nothing else,
Hmm.
my lifestyle and who I am is humanity. I have friends from all different walks of life: black, white, gray, yellow, straight, gay. Like, I have all kinds of friends around the world, different
Hmm.
backgrounds, different beliefs.
Yeah.
Christian, because I'm Christian as well. I have Muslim
Same
friends.
with
I have,
me.
I have Muslim friends. I have Jewish friends.
Hmm.
I have Hindu friends. So my thing is just that, and I'm not saying that to prove a point. I'm saying that because I wanted to have a record. If I'm going to make my only political statement on album, this is going to be it. So now at this point, I told my fans already, after I put this album out, I'm not posting no more political shit on my page because I've spent enough time doing that for the last 10 years. So anybody that want to know my beliefs on the presidency or anything else, everything is going to be put right in this album. I even have a punk rock song called Presidents Are Not God. It's a
Wow.
very angry punk rock song.
Mm-hmm.
It's people were
Yeah.
asking, you know, when they saw me dissing Trump, they was like, yeah, you probably one of those Biden guys. I said, no, fuck him too. I'm really not a fan of him, fan of his as well. People like, oh wow, like I said, I'm an independent thinker. I mean, I was raised Democrat, but when I started discovering and researching the truth for myself, nobody put a battery in my back, nobody beat me in the head with information.
Mm-hmm.
I did my own research because, as everybody knows, if I didn't do music,
you came up with your own idea. Nobody didn't give you that idea.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. I always tell people, take some of the information from people who have done just about as much research as you're going to do. Anybody just sitting here talking and running their mouth and ain't got no information to back up their facts, or no real facts to back up their opinion, stay away from them. They just talking to be talking. As James Brown said, they talking loud and ain't saying nothing. So the one thing about me is that I'm a political science major. So that's one. I'm talking about from when I went to school. And then of course, number two, part of our curriculum growing up was the deeper part of Black history, because the schools where I went to, we were actually being taught, not all of them, we were actually being taught the right stuff. And in some schools, they wasn't teaching none of this stuff. So the thing for me was to always make sure, and as everybody knows, I'm a former school teacher too. So I really prided myself as a school teacher when I worked for my aunt to really have a curriculum where we not only learned about American history, but we learned about Black history. It's like, well, why teach both? I said, you know why? Because what you're going to learn in American history is only certain parts of the truth, and sometimes you ain't going to get the whole truth at all. Black history, I'm going to give you the whole fucking truth surrounding why Rockefeller and these guys built their communities upon riches and upon everything else. You have to know this. And this is the one thing, you know, and this is what I miss about music, because back then we had a lot of education through the music, especially in hip hop. You know, people like Brand Nubian and Piece of the Gods and the Earth, like all the guys who were 5%ers. Spiritually, I didn't agree with a lot of their stuff, but when it came to the actual truth of what this country was built on, oh, they're definitely talking the truth. It's no getting around anything that they're saying about the freedom of the Black man and things that we went through. And it's not even a radical state point. It's really a whole scenario where you have to understand that unless you know what you're talking about, it's never going to reach the people, because people can see right through that. There's a difference between clickbait and actually researching the information. I'm from the area of the Encyclopedia Britannica, where we didn't have the internet back then. You had to read the information and learn
it. Yes. You know, everything was just based on books. Even though the internet was out back in the day, but it wasn't out like that. When it came to, like, you know, the late the late 90s and the early 2000s, that's when the internet, like, you know, was, like, you know, really coming out.
It's a lot of information that was there. I mean, my mother was a computer science teacher, so for me, I was the only kid in my hood that had a Commodore 6. But those are my 80s babies and 90s babies. I had a Commodore 64 and an Apple IIe. Those are the first computer. Radio Shack with the Tandy floppy disk. For those that know about that, I had all that shit, and I had Atari.
And I remember CD players were popular in the day, like, you know, their beepers.
Yeah, but this has been my point is before CD players, because CD players didn't come out till like what, 87, 88, like around that time. 6 rather. I'm before that. I'm literally like that whole period where it was all cassette tapes and vinyl was still heavy at that particular time. But when computers came in the game, we were able to accessorize. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I had the fortunate thing for me growing up, because remember, I grew up on St. Mark's, Kingston, Albany, but I lived on Nostrand Avenue too. On Nostrand Avenue in St. Mark's, there was a library. It's still there. There was a library across the street from me. So where do you think I was every day when I wasn't playing outside? I spent more time in the library than I did outside. I literally would come home from school, do my homework. Then I would probably play some football with my friend. Of course, I wasn't no square. I was a regular guy. I would play football, play tag, and then the library stayed open till 6 back then. So I would go in the library from 4 to 6 and just read and just research, just take notes, even not just in music, but in science, in the different fields of science I'm interested in. Because as y'all know, that's why Planet 12 was created, because Planet 12 is a combination of my love for music and my love
And
for
so, while, sorry for cutting you off. While you was in the library, that's when you started writing your songs, right?
Not when I started writing my songs. It's where I started to have a better understanding on why I was putting all this together. Because I've been a science fiction head since I was 6. Remember, I'm a Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars head. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. But when you're 6 years old, it's just, oh my God, it's fascinating. But when you turn 10 or 11, it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating, but I want to
It's
know.
an age different, like the mindset changes.
Yeah, but
You know,
you
the
gotta,
mindset when it like, when it comes to the ages is different. It's like, oh, you better than everybody. Oh, I could do this. You can't do this better than me. It's like I see myself doing this and not you doing that.
no,
Like,
it's deeper than that. What I was trying to
mhm,
say was,
yeah.
the whole point is that at 6 years old, it's, ooh, wow, it's fascinating. Star Wars, Star Trek, back to that stuff is fascinating. But when I turned 10 or 11, I began to have a deeper understanding. I'm like, okay, what is it about these different objects and words? What is it about astronomy that I like? What is it about astrology that I like? I want to find out
Hmm.
about that. See, that's why it's so funny now. Let me pivot for a minute. I laugh at the fact that NASA is now a popular clothing item, because
Hmm.
back in the day, if you wore anything that said NASA that has anything to do with aerodynamics and space, you were laughed at. Not me, but I'm talking about people generally laughed at. Like, oh, he's a nerd, he's a nerd. Now you see kids on the street wearing NASA hoodies and shit, and I'm sitting there laughing like, y'all late to the
Wearing nerd
party.
glasses.
But it's so funny. I said, y'all late to the party. NASA was always the shit to me growing up, because
Hmm.
as young kids we were fascinated with space. We were fascinated with the solar system. So all that came together for me around 9 or 10. I began to have a deeper understanding of what I was into, and then my question got answered. What is beyond this world is the cosmos. That's where Carl Sagan comes in. There, Carl Sagan is my favorite writer. When I read the Cosmos, I started putting it all together. And then I discovered, of course, Parliament's Mothership Connection album, George Clinton.
Hmm.
When you know the album cover, you see George on the spaceship. When I saw that
Uh-huh.
album cover and I heard the music, between that and reading Cosmos, I got it. Planet 12. Planet 12. There are 12 notes
So
in
you,
music. There are 12 notes in music, and L is the 12th letter of the alphabet. And
mhm.
people was like, well, Lord, you on your own planet, because you listen to everything from Run DMC to Led Zeppelin to Conal Abrams to house music. So you on your own planet, Planet 12. And the fact that I love
Mhm.
science fiction, because what's the association with science and Marvel and DC Comics? All the superheroes became superheroes by a scientific accident. Every last one of
Mhm.
them. Spider-Man, what happened to him? Got bit by a radioactive spider. Incredible Hulk, he got hit with a gamma ray. See what I mean? So I want to put
Mhm.
myself in a position of being like a musical superhero that has all this outer space shit, but still very hood and down to earth. That's where the
Mhm.
Brooklyn shit comes in at. Because I was still street. I was a nerd, but I wasn't the typical nerd I wasn't a nerd that got pushed around any of that shit. You will get these hands very quickly. So I was intelligent, but I was still street and hood as all fuck. So that's what made me different from everybody else. I'll party with you 1 minute, be
Yeah.
blasting music, doing some ignorant shit, and be right in the library reading a book. Like, that's the kind of guy that I was, and I never
Mhm.
changed that. You know what I mean? I love to
Yeah.
dress up, but I'm still a sneaker. As you can tell, I'm still a sneakers and hoodie guy. It doesn't change.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Hmm. Mm. And speaking of Black history, of you becoming a teacher,
Hmm.
yeah, please check your Wi-Fi again.
Oh no, I'm here. We here. I'm good so far. We good.
Yeah, yeah, because you just froze,
Yeah, I
but
froze in the.
you good now.
I'm
But you
good now.
good
Yeah.
now. I just pray, Lord Jesus, don't let this happen. Don't let Lord freeze on me again.
No, it's working pretty good so far. That's why I'm like, okay, let me make sure. But you know what we're dealing with out here. That has everything to do with outside, not here. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so
And the first time I had you on my podcast, you even talked about being a teacher,
mhm,
and like you thought like Black history, and
mhm.
like other type of history, and like I guarantee you 1,000% they're gonna have history books in the future that are based on like the Black Lives Matter trending, like the amount of innocent Black people getting taken away, and the pandemic, also known as coronavirus.
Well, I mean, that's a good call. I mean, thank God for wishful thinking. I'm not gonna say that you're off, but you know, in this day and age, I think technology has developed so much. I mean, I still love books. If you saw my book collection right now on the other side of this room, you'll understand my love for
Mhm.
books. I still buy books. I still order books on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta read because it's like you just gotta constantly read no matter what because it's like that's what developed the brains. Um,
Mhm.
if you're the smartest person in the world, if you're a genius, you learn something new every day. You could be a genius and like you would just be stupid.
Well, I mean, it's a fine
No,
line.
no, no, no. I'm just saying people in general.
Okay, and I was going to say because you know, I have a theory. It's great to be smart, but you don't always have to be the smartest person because here's the thing. People always, you know, they used to think that I had this, they had this real attitude towards me when a lot of people started seeking me out for all the historic parts of who I am. 'Cause everybody knows I'm a noted historian about music and
Mhm.
everything like that. And I tell people all the time, even with all that I know, and the only reason why I know everything that I know is because, I mean, look at it. I grew up in the music industry. That's that
Mhm.
I know about it more than the average person does. I lived it.
Mhm.
I'm here. But the thing is that I'm the first person when I don't know something, I say like, "Yo, I didn't know that. Oh shit, this is new. This is new to me." I
Mhm.
love learning new shit. I never get offended when somebody tells me something new that I might not have heard before or something I didn't learn. That's why I always tell people it's okay to be smart, but you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you should leave that room. Get
Yeah,
around
yeah, of
people,
course you should
get
leave
around
that room.
people
You don't
who know just
belong
as
in
much
that,
as you
but you
do.
don't belong in that room. You don't belong in that circle. If you move different, you don't belong in that group of people.
Well, I say get with people that know as much. There's three kinds of people you should get with. People that want to learn more, especially if they're getting to know you. If they're getting to know you, they want to learn more about your profession. They want to hear more of your stories. They want to hear more of your experiences. Number two, people that know just as much about stuff that you do. And number three, people that may even know a little bit more than you do. It may be
Mm-hmm.
some information. I was just in LA recently and I learned some new things about the way publishing has expanded. I've been getting my publishing for years and I've had no issues, but looks like there's some new shit I had to learn. That's why when God said, "Yo, Lord, go to LA," I went. I didn't hesitate. I'm like, you know what? I have to go anyway because I have to establish some connections out there in my second hometown. And it was a blessing because I went, I did what I had to do, and I watched it. So for me, it was almost like, oh, I didn't know this. I can do that? Oh, wow. Okay, let me write it down. See, that's me. I've always been that. So when people used to come at me like, oh, thinks he's a know-it-all, I said, no, I just know what the fuck I know. It ain't about me knowing it all. I said, now, if you want to feel that way, that's just you hating on me at the end of the day. But it's not about me being a know-it-all. You probably mad because you don't know it. And that's sometimes a person's ignorance and what they don't know will cause them to hate people that do know. And some people can't get, some people have too much pride to get around people that know just as much as they do or probably more. You know what I mean? And I've never been that type of dude. I'm a sponge. This is why Michael Jackson didn't just become the king of pop. Yes, he had natural talent, but people don't realize Michael and as well as the whole Jackson Five, they were sponges. They were in the studio. That's why they were able to produce their own records when they got older. They learned Motown is the greatest school in the world. How could you not learn with all the engineers and the producers that you're working with? And Jones would be like, Michael, stop asking so many questions. And Barry's be like, no, no, you can ask me anything you want, Michael. And that made Michael
Yeah.
happy. And Michael's like, okay, well, what is really
Uh-huh.
knob here? Oh, that's the trouble. Michael learned enough to know that when his time came to unleash his own vision, he knew the people to hire, but he also knew what he heard. Because you got to
Hmm.
remember, you can have a great producer, but if your vision is not being fulfilled, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. So if
Yeah.
you don't get around people that learned that, I was fortunate because my family was my Juilliard for music. So everything that I needed to learn was right here in the house. My mother, my grandfather, my uncles, they were all playing the Apollo and touring the world. So everything that I learned by watching them. I'm a self-taught musician, but best believe when I got old enough, I got around what we call the cats. When I started hanging around some of the guys, I was like, oh, well, what's that thing that you're doing right there? Oh, that's called a pregio. Oh, that's what they do? Okay, that's what that's called? That's me being around the older guys at 11, 10 years old, even though I already taught myself how to play guitar and bass and drums. And you learn about triple rolls, because when you get around the cats, they're not afraid to teach you. They want to give you game. I'm like, no, show me. Show me. I want to learn as much as I can learn while I have you here with me, because y'all know the phrase, here today, gone tomorrow. You know, you might not ever see that person again. And that one person can have an effect on your life. No matter, it doesn't even have to be music. It could be acting. It could be anything. That person that's teaching you something can have such a profound effect on your life that can change your life for the better. So if you're ignorant to not growing, and you already lost. Anybody that thinks that they're above growing, they done lost already. I don't care how much you know. There is always something new to learn. There are over 208. Look, here's my guitar here. See this guitar? There's over 288 chords to learn on the guitar. I'm talking all together, guitar chords. I only know about a good 50 or 60. And guess what? I may not ever get to 288. And that's okay. That's fine. But at least I know if I ever wanted to get that deep, I can. And I have a lot of books here of guitar chords. I have certain things that even I had to go back and make sure, oh, that's what I'm playing. Oh, wow. That's an E minor 7. That's what that is. It's all about learning and growing. So it's almost that whole thing of really teaching people that it's okay to grow and continuously grow. That's the reason why we have a problem in the music industry now with some of the older cats. They'd be like, I'm not really that computer savvy. Get computer savvy. Learn. Take the time and learn the basics. You don't have to learn everything about your laptop.
Yeah, exactly.
Things. Like Leon, look, I work with the great Leon Silvers, the legendary Leon Silvers. Leon Silvers operates Pro Tools. Leon Silvers is in his late 60s, and he knows how to operate Pro Tools. A lot of guys his age won't get near a computer and learn how to work that. It's not easy, as you know. It's not easy. See what I'm saying? So it's almost like to see. I'm sitting there in the studio with the great Leon Silvers from the old school, from when he used to work on the tube amps and stuff. When the mixing boards were like this big. Remember back in the days, had them big ass mixing boards. Now here he is in a makeshift studio with just a keyboard, a laptop, and a grid, and he knows how to operate it. See what I'm saying? So there's no excuse. That's why when I saw him and his brother Foster working Pro Tools at their age, it's no excuse for nobody. Nobody has an excuse in this world and day and age to grow. I don't care how old. Now unless you have issues and things like that, that's different. But if you're still in your right mind and you can focus, you can learn how to be a little bit more savvy. I used to get on some of my band members all the time, and believe it or not, I'd be like, you don't have a laptop yet? What the fuck is wrong with you? Hello? We're in a fast-paced, changing world. Now, that's the only time I agree with keeping up with the times. Not stylistically, because you know, out here, this new shit, I don't know what that is. I'm not following any of that. But technology-wise, I believe that we should all be following suit, because you don't want to get left behind. I'm still classic. I still got rituals that I do. I'm digital and analog, so some things will never change. Look, I got all my music I got 2 laptops, 1 iPad, and 1 iPhone. That's all I really need. But I still have all my CDs. I still have all my vinyl. I still got my CD player. I still got my DAT machine.
I saw that collection, Lord. You got the it's like, you know, it's like a, you know, a freaking music library that you have in your house over there. And speaking of instruments, how many instruments do you play? How many?
I play 7, pretty much.
7. Name. You play a guitar, drums. What else do you play?
Guitars, drums, bass, keyboard, xylophone, harmonica, and a little bit of the violin, just a little bit.
Okay, that's amazing. Multi-talented.
Well, I mean, I put it like this, you know, not to brag, it's simply the truth, but thanks to Prince and Stevie Wonder, because here's the thing. I never wanted to be the guy that had to depend on 8 people to do one job for me. And not to say that, because obviously I have a band, but I'm just saying more so I wanted to be self-sufficient like they were. Now, keep in mind, Prince and Stevie had people that were on their records, but a lot of times on certain songs, as you know, sometimes it'd be like, is that all Stevie? I'm like, yep, that's all Stevie. Is that all Prince? Yeah, that's all Prince. Because at some particular point when you have a vision, you don't have time to call up Joe and Daryl and be like, hey guys, can you come over and lay down this part? It's like, I wanted to know all of my instruments to the point where I knew that if I had to record, I didn't have to depend on wait on anybody to get all of my ideas out. So that came out of self-sufficiency and actually boredom, because once I got to the point where I learned a little bit more on bass, learned a little more guitar, drums my first instrument. That was a natural. So drums, I'm like, you know, I started paying attention to Herbie Hancock and Randy Jackson of the Jacksons and Chick Corea and all that stuff. I'm like, Mom, can I have a keyboard? So now I want to teach myself. I taught myself how to play by ear on piano, and then my late great music teacher, Mrs. Thompson, taught me a few of the, you know, the easier stuff, like Every Good Boy Does Fine, finger positioning, your minor chords, your major chords. I only had 3 lessons. After I had those 3 lessons, I started just applying and learning shit on my own, because I figured, you know, let me teach myself this, because again, I never wanted to be stuck in a situation where I'm stuck. Oh, I can't play it, but I don't know how to play bass. I got this bass line in my head, but I can't play it. Nope. Get your bass. Learn how to play it. And my grandfather had a purple Ibanez bass that was sitting around and nobody was touching. So guess what? I'm going to start teaching myself bass every day after school. And so every day after school for me was 3 hours a piece on each instrument. That was pretty much after I did my homework. If I wasn't gigging with my grandfather out west, I literally was, you know, that was our regular routine. We had a gig. Me and my brother would get out of school early. You know, he would go play basketball. I would go play video games or some shit. We meet back up, play a couple of rounds of Nintendo in the house. We do some exercise work. And then I would literally sit there for 2 hours and either play bass or guitar until my grandfather was ready to go to the club. So this is really, you got to be committed to your craft. And I made a decision at a very early age that nobody was going to ever stiff me with the bill, for lack of a better phrase. Nobody was going to ever leave me hanging to where, well, you need me. I play on this. Well, you know what? Nah, I'm going to learn all this shit. Because you know why? Y'all not going to leave me stuck. Y'all not going to disappoint me. So that was the main thing behind that. Now, of course, band-wise, I got my incredible, long-time, trustworthy band. So I never have to worry on stage about that. They're committed to the craft like I am. But as y'all know, in the studio, I do everything in the studio. So.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And I see that, you know, I heard you like sing like a couple of times, Laura. Do you plan on putting out an R&B album, only R&B album without hip hop, funk, pop, and anything?
That will happen. I was waiting for you to finish the question, because I was like, I said, well, I've definitely done R&B on my records, but you're talking about a pure R&B album, right? Like a showing
Yes,
up.
yes, regular
Yeah,
R&B album.
I definitely plan. As a matter of fact, I'm putting out an all hip hop album. That's one of the 5 projects I was talking about. One of the projects is going to be an all strictly hip hop album, but I'm definitely planning on doing a pure R&B album, and I'm definitely going to do a pure funk album as well, which is going to be funk, because everybody think R&B and funk is the same thing. I said, kind of, but not
It's
quite.
not.
Funk is more aggressive. Funk is a little bit more
I
attacking.
mean, they're 2 different genres. Why are people saying that that like, you know, 2 genres of music is the same? It's not
No,
the same.
no. Listen, it goes back to that hip hop rap conversation. Funk is the subgenre of R&B. Funk is the aggressive bastard child of R&B. And thank God for funk, because we wouldn't have made funk a genre, and thank George Clinton for that. If we didn't have funk as a genre, we would have still been trying to prove to everybody else that we are the creators of rock and roll, because in the early 70s, rock and roll became white dominated. Even though we as Black people created rock and roll, the 70s dominated. In the 70s and the 80s, rock and roll became synonymous with white people because of all the success of the major rock bands like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, The Who, you know, and then of course the 80s you have Metallica and Van Halen.
Bon
And
Jovi,
mind you, just so we
Freddie
clear,
Mercury.
I love all of those guys. I love every last person I just mentioned. But the thing was that if it wasn't for people like Fishbone, Prince, Lenny Kravitz, Bad Brains, Def, Ohio Players, Santana, believe it or not, you know, if it wasn't for groups of color, we would have literally been trying to fight for that space. But because of funk music, we didn't have to fight for it no more. It's like, listen, y'all know we created this rock and roll shit, but guess what? Funk is now the new pop music. So guess what we gonna do now? When Ohio Plays with #1 with Fire, that was a number one pop record. Not a, it was number one R&B, but it was number one in the pop charts. Who would have ever thought of funk? Brick House, number one. You know, that's the people like I said, that's not even the funkiest shit that the Commodores ever did, but put that shit on. White people love the song, even though we adopted it first. But I understood it. So the difference is that funk and R&B, like hip hop and rap, same thing. But the difference in that department is that funk came out of R&B. As I always tell people, James Brown created the funk, Sly and the Family Stone diversified the funk, but George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic made funk worldwide religion. They made it a genre, without question. Once George Clinton and them blew up with Parliament, funk officially became a genre in its own. It was already a genre 5 years before that, but once Parliament hit with Mothership Connection and Flashlight and all that shit, they had no choice. The industry's like, you know what? Funk is a genre now. So that's pretty much how it began. But the roots of funk are still very much R&B. It comes from the combination of R&B, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of, that's what James Brown was. James Brown was a little bit of blues, a little bit of jazz, and definitely a whole lot of soul. But what James Brown was doing with all three of these things, he was making it pop. Instead of the 2 and 4, he was on the 1. Everyone's like, that's different. You hear Cold Sweat. It's like, what are you, that's different. And that changed the whole game. Papa's, he said it. Papa's got a brand new bag. That's about him. He's Papa. He was talking about funk. Papa's got a brand new bag. And if you listen to the interview that he did, he said it. He said, well, basically, what I was trying to say in Papa's got a brand new bag was, I got some new music shit that not even Motown is doing. Motown ain't doing this, and Stax is not doing it. But the pure irony is that Motown and Stax would end up copying James too. Just how, think about all the records that came out between 67 and 75. There's at least 200 funk songs that got the James Brown blueprint all in it. You dig what I'm saying? That shows you right there. He's the creator. I'm like, that sound like James Brown. Or here's a better one for the new generation. Listen to Bruno Mars, Put Some Perm in Your Attitude. That's straight James Brown. Put some perm in your attitude. You gotta relax. That's James. That's
oh yeah. Bruno Mars is one of my favorite artists, like, you know, now. And if you look at
because Bruno did his homework. I toured with Bruno twice. Bruno did his homework. Bruno did. That's why a lot of people are hating on him, because he's a Puerto Rican.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, I mean, he's different from all these new artists that, you know, just put out garbage. Bruno and the and like, you know, his group, I forgot his group's names, like, they're the real deal. And if you look at Bruno Mars and, like, you know, his group, they're the junior version of Morris Day at the time. They're like the junior version.
I wouldn't go that far, but I understand what you mean though. I get what you're saying, like the influence part of it, because there's only I mean, my theory is this. Like us, I mean, everybody that's seen my show or pretty much seen clips of mine, we pretty much pay homage to our heroes. So sometimes you're going to see me go into a Hendrix phase. Y'all seen it. Sometimes you'll see me go into a Mars Day phase. Sometimes you'll see me go into a Michael Jackson, Prince sort of thing, because, or I have a Stevie moment, because we're the living embodiment of all of our heroes. So Bruno Mars, the same thing. Like with Bruno, I see all kinds of stuff in him. Like, it's different stuff. I see Jackie Wilson. I see he did his homework. And that doesn't mean I'm not comparing him. What I'm saying is that he's done, like myself and a lot of other artists, he's done the homework. So he deserves the props that he get. He's done the homework. When you've done the homework, you deserve the praise and the accolades. That's why he's getting them. Every time he wins something, I'm happy, because he's one of us. Me and him cut from the same cloth. I'm so glad that when I toured with him, we did 2 shows with him. And the first time we did it, we had a chance to hang out. And I told him flat out, bro, I said, dude, I love every fucking thing that you're doing, man. Keep on doing. He said, thank you, man. I appreciate. I said, dude, man, trust me. We from the same school of that real shit. Don't ever change it for nobody. And I'm so glad, because Bruno he's one of the biggest pop stars in the last 6 years. He could easily do all the new shit that everybody else is doing, and he won't. I love that. He could have easily did. That's why if you look at 24 Karat Magic, he only got that one part in there when he said, let me break it down like this. And you got that little trap, 24 Karat. That's the only time he went new school. The rest of that song is strictly Roger Troutman, old school hip hop, Grandmaster Flash, Nefarious 5 rap scheme, 24 Karat Magic. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I caught onto it the minute I heard the records, because, you know, with me, I can hear a record and I can automatically tell where the artist, who they listen to, where they got their style from, or who they really pay attention to the most.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the artists that you mentioned, and like I see on your page, Lord, that you write like really like long paragraphs about you having a relationship with like New Edition, New Kids on the Block, UTFO. Which of these artists did you but that influence you the most, and why? Did you have like the best memories of, and why?
Well, that's a hard one because I mean, no, let me not say that. Let me not say that. The thing is, because I met Prince, but we didn't have a long conversation. As you know, Prince wasn't much on words when it came to that, but we met. He nodded. We spoke for a minute, and he was on his way. I was good with that. Thank God. Rest in peace. But that's my #1 idol. But honestly, New Edition, because as I tell people all the time, Prince, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Joe Tex, Albert Collins, people who I were into. Those are my first primary heroes, but they were all adults. So growing up, and you see 5 nappy-headed kids that look like you, that have nappy hair like you, that talk like you, that dress like you, it's different. You understand what I'm saying? It spoke more to me. It influenced me. I was already being influenced by Michael and Prince and all, and Stevie and all that stuff as a kid. But to see Candy Girl video, to see these kids from Boston, from the projects just like me, and they doing exactly what I was doing outside. Because I was singing and dancing and breakdancing for money outside in Brooklyn. So there were other kids in other parts of town that were doing the same thing I was doing. It's like, oh, shoot. It make I don't care what nobody says. When you see kids doing what you do, it makes you want to do. It's like, I want to do it too. I'm 9 years old. So think about me at 9. Think about young Lawrence at 9 years old, and Candy Girl comes on. And you see these kids, they're not that much, or they older than you, but it's almost like they still look like me, though. They're like my older brother. Me and my older brother, my younger brother, we wore sneakers and jeans like they did. We was doing, we was popping and locking and doing all this shit like they was doing. So it's like, and of course, both my brothers didn't sing, but I sung. So it's like, for me, and I rapped. So New Edition sang and rapped, and they danced, and their routines were always on point. As far as a dancer, that spoke to me even more. But vocally, I'm listening to how, Ralph is only 11, 12
That
years
has
old.
Bell Biv DeVoe. They rap. They were the New Jack. They're the New Jack Swing group of New Edition. Bell Biv DeVoe, Michael, Ronnie, and Ricky.
No, Bell Biv DeVoe was pretty much, I'm gonna say this and all, I'm gonna know the historian of that group, as you know. Bell Biv DeVoe was basically, and you gotta thank Bobby Brown for Bell Biv DeVoe. You know why? Because you gotta remember, Bobby Brown was fired from the group because a lot of
he's the one that started New Edition, and
yeah,
like during the 80s, it's like he didn't perform with New Edition when Johnny Gill entered the group. He was pursuing his solo career.
yeah, that's the historic part of it. I'm talking about like the stylistic part. The whole point is
I
that
know. Oh, okay.
Bobby was doing. You gotta remember why Bobby got fired. Bobby got
Mm-hmm.
fired, not just because of the wild shenanigans. Bobby was already moving in the direction that how funny is it that Bell Biv DeVoe would take their cues from Bobby? Because you gotta remember, Bobby, when they were doing Mr. Telephone Man, Bobby would start humping the stage and the girls would go crazy. But the management was very bent on keeping them a squeaky clean group. Now, of course, for those of us that knew the truth, New Edition, like myself, we're not the boys next door. We're from the hood. So certain things that we enjoyed, the public didn't know about, and let alone when we performing on stage, Bobby's argument to his bandmates was like, dude, what they want us to be, 14 forever? We grown, like, we got to tell the truth, man. Look, we smoke weed when we not doing this shit. We messing with a whole bunch of older women and young girls and whatnot. We got to exemplify that in our music. And of course, he was always outvoted because the rest of New Edition was trying to follow what management was kind of beating them in the head about. So when they fired him, Bobby Brown was like, okay, I'm let go of a group. And then Ralph, him and Ralph are best friends. Ralph is the one that told Bobby, he's like, look at it this way, B. Now you get to do everything that you was talking about. Remember we was talking about that whole go to New York and work with Teddy Riley. He told him, go to New York and get the beats. And when Bobby Brown, when that video came out, when he's humping and shit like that, now he became the biggest pop star on the planet. Next to Mike, he became the biggest pop star, outsold all records. So now when Velvet DeVoe comes along, Velvet DeVoe took their cues like, okay, well, since New Edition was known for being so squeaky clean, and Bob already came out and unleashed all his shit, let's take it a step further. And that's exactly what Velvet DeVoe did. So Velvet DeVoe became anti-New Edition without being anti-New Edition. It's still polished because, you know, the steps are still what they are, but it was more aggressive. The fashion was different. Even Bobby Brown said, I dress like them now. Bobby Brown started dressing like Velvet DeVoe. So they all influenced each other. They all influenced. It was never just all beef between them. They all influenced each other, even during their solo career. They supported each other. If you notice on I Thought It Was Me, Bobby Brown was in the video. People don't even understand. I said, Bobby's in the video, hanging out with them. I'm like, so much for so-called beef. They didn't really have all this beef. I said, because after a while, it's like, you know, we're learning from each other. Oh, that record is dope. Like, I wonder what Ralph's going to do. I wonder what Johnny Gill's going to come with. So that's the reason why New Edition became, and still today, my particular blueprint in terms of how I approach the stage, my singing, the precision of all those things working together. Because remember, I've been to every tour that they ever did. And you got to remember, the technology back then wasn't advanced. You had to sing while performing.
Yeah.
There was no Memorex. There was no sequencers at that time. Sequencers didn't come.
They would just give you the mic and sing. Do a two-step. Sing out of your mouth.
You have to sing out of your mouth. And you look at them old, because you're like, no, the rest of the guys just can't sing. I said, they all can sing. I said, now, of course, Biv is not, you know, Biv and Ronnie are not lead singers to a fault. They sing lead parts, but that's them harmonizing. No, I said, for sure, that's definitely them singing on those records, because you had to be in that mix to have that. And here I am, 11 years old, 10 years old, and I'm at the Westbury Music Fair, and I'm in the 6th row with my sister, and I'm watching my heroes. You know, I'm watching my heroes throw down. I'm like, between that, Prince, and Michael Jackson, you couldn't tell me nothing after that. I was lit already at that point. Every day I watched every video. You know, I had all the Jackson stuff. I had all the James Brown tapes. I had all the, because my uncle played for James Brown. For those that don't know, my uncle Tony T. Funk Austin was James Brown's drummer in the mid '80s for a few months. So I had all those tapes. I had all the tapes. I watched everything and put it all together. So I would definitely say New Edition is the most influential for that.
They are. They've been in the game since the late 70s. Over 40 decades in the over 4 decades in the business. Come on, and look at, they're moving strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like, you know, you recently saw, like, when they performed at the American Music Awards, they did a versus with New Kids on the Block. What were your thoughts about that that versus, Law?
Well, first and foremost, it wasn't a versus. Let's get that straight. It's not a versus. It was basically,
I mean, they called it a versus, but, like, you know, it's like, you know, 2 iconic male groups from Boston, Massachusetts getting together, performing a phenomenal live event.
It's, yeah, but here's the thing: the media termed that, because that's a new term now. Oh, it's versus. Everything's not a versus, and the thing, that's why.
I know it's not a versus.
So it's very. The thing about seeing New Kids and New Edition for me, because as everybody knows, I'm a diehard New Kids on the Block fan. I saw their first show at the Apollo. I was in the 3rd row when we were screaming, "Go White Boys, go White!" Like, they were dope even then. So it was historic. I mean, I almost was in tears. It was very emotional for me to see 2 of the influential groups that influenced me and still influencing me finally get on the same stage. Because you gotta remember, it never happened prior to that. Prior to that, certain members would get on stage at a time with each group. Like, so, like, sometimes Velvet DeVoe would come to New Kids show, or sometimes Johnny Gill would come to, you know what I mean? They have moments, but they never been both groups on stage with all members. So, and unless they do a tour next year, we may not see that again. Only if they do a tour, because they tease everybody, because they know that now, after they get everything squared away, after they do the whole year of their own individual stuff, the next big tour would have to be New Edition and New Kids on the Block, without question.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got excited. I was like everybody. I was screaming just like a girl, like everybody else. I was hyped. They looked good. Everybody sounded amazing. Nothing was out of place. It was perfect. It was automatically all the way perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like it was very phenomenal, like, you know. And Bobby, Ricky, Ronnie, Ralph, Johnny, and Michael, they look good. They haven't aged at all. And like, you know, the members of New Kids on the Block, I forgot their names, but they were looking good. They were doing the two step.
Of course. Well, I mean, that's the
Phenomenal.
world they come. Those guys have managed to take care of themselves over the years. I mean, of course, you know, everybody. Bobby had his struggles for a while,
Yeah, but like
but
he was.
Bobby's looking good though. He's looking good.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So, you know, he got it together. So the thing is that outside of that, everybody's always taken care of themselves. Everybody's always been diligent towards making sure they get the best performance. So they come into New York on the 26th, and I will be in the building hanging out as usual. So we'll see what happens from there. I saw a couple of clips of the rehearsals, but I can't. I'm sworn to see.
I pray that I'm able to get there with you, Lord, because you know I want to meet Ralph, I want to meet Ronnie and Ricky. I met Bobby, Johnny, and Michael.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got too many stories with those guys. You know that. Like I spent a lot
Hmm.
of time with
Hmm.
especially with
Hmm.
Ralph and Biv. Ralph and Biv, I'm the closest to out of all of those guys. So, you know, it's a lot of great stories behind me hanging out with my heroes. I tell that story about me, Biv, and Ron, and our boy Fish Grease. We had the Hula Hands having rap debates in Jersey after the show was over.
Hmm.
Then there've been times when me and Michael just sat. You know, when I first met Michael let me sit in on a business meeting. Who does that?
Hmm.
I was about to leave. I said,
Hmm.
I can leave. I said, y'all about that? He said, no, Lord, you good. I'm like, okay. Because I'm not going to stay for somebody's business, man. They talking business. But he said, no, you can stay. He let me, I never.
Because that's personal. That's personal. You was giving him the respect. That's personal.
Yeah, but the thing is that he still didn't allow, he could have easily kicked me out. He could have kicked me out, and he didn't. So the thing was just that, you know, that's the first day we met, and we've been friends for over 20 something years. So it's so crazy how things work, because, you know, there's this old saying, they'd be like, don't meet your idols, you'll be disappointed. Well, I haven't been disappointed yet. So I've pretty much met the majority of my heroes, and it's been great, excellent stories to tell ever since then. You know, some I've maintained relationship with, some I just met like 1 or 2 times, and it was good to see them. And some I only met once, and I was just glad that I met them, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, and they're gonna be touring with Uncle Charlie Wilson. Today is his birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and the bad boys of R&B, Jodeci.
Jodeci! Ooh, yeah!
Jodeci. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So glad to have all four original members back together. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that new EP and that new album. The fans as well.
You mean I don't have to sit here and tell anybody what Jodeci means to me and to everybody else. I tell the girls all the time. I say I'm just out.
How's what is your relationship with Jodeci? Devontae, JoJo, Dalvin,
My
and
relationship.
Casey.
It's funny. I've only met Casey once. I don't know the rest of the guys. But I got a few people who I'm close to that are close to Dalvin and close to JoJo. Close to JoJo as well. But I don't have any, outside of them being among my top 5 heroes in terms of groups, and who I got a lot of my style from. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much my relationship with them in terms of just, you know, student teachers. You know.
Uh-huh. Yep, yep. You know, it's gonna be a phenomenal tour. Like,
What up, Nate? I see you, bro.
you know, it's gonna be 7 icons and 4 legends. Amazing.
It's. Thank God. Keep Charlie Wilson in your prayers. You realize he's the only brother left out the
Yeah,
gap.
and the Gap Band, and like, you know, he recently lost his other brother,
Older
and
brother, right?
Uncle Charlie is moving strong.
So it's clearly a mission, because, you know, he
Hmm.
lost both his brothers. I mean, honestly,
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, Gap Band died when Robert Wilson died, because he was the energy. His little brother, when they played the bass, Robert Wilson with the hat and the red bass, he was the energy of Gap Band. He was the energy, and Charlie Wilson was the focal point, the center, that the vocals that held the things together, and Ryan just oversee production and things of that nature. So the fact that Charlie's the only one still here, it's just it's deep. It's deep. So
and like he's like going through a lot, like about like remembering like performing with his brothers in the Gap Band, and it's just like tough, like seeing all the great singers gone too soon.
Yeah, it's something that's still difficult for me to talk about, because just recently I lost two of them I was very close to, as everybody knows. Kango from UTFO and Jesse D.
Oh yeah, it's like
I was close to both of them, as most of my fans know. So that those, I couldn't get out of New York faster.
Two of them were just always so happy to see me when I arrived at a venue.
It's crazy. It's just, but this is the reason why I tell fans all the time, support or shut up when it comes to me or anybody doing the music, because
and this is the one thing, Law, I don't like. Sorry for cutting you off. Once an artist is transition, is deceased, don't talk about an artist. Don't tell lies about an artist. Let that artist rest in peace.
Oh yeah, I mean that at this point,
it just annoys me when they do that.
I don't expect people to have a lot of people to have a moral compass these days. So for me, I mean, that's something that shouldn't even have to be said. I think anybody that has enough class and was raised with some type of dignity should be able to do that without somebody having to tell them, or somebody having to curse them out for them to realize that they're wrong on so many different levels. But to finish my point, this is why I talk about not just supporting me, but support the real artists that are still doing this, and support the icons that we still have among us. Because what I don't like is when we lose icons, and I tell people all the time, people didn't even know that this guy had a record out, nobody bought it, and some of these other record outlets wasn't pushing the music, but then yet they want to boo-hoo and have all this shit about support. We don't even realize what a lot of these other classic artists are dealing with. See, me, I cried when both Kango and Jesse died. But for me,
yeah, I cried. Me too. I cried. It's like I was shocked. I was like, it can't be Kango. Like, no.
But the tears for me was bypassed after that. And for me, simply because the reason why, you see the pictures, the reason why the tears didn't stay too long after that is because I've always showed them love. Everybody's seen the pictures, like when I would go live and shit, and me and Jesse be in the room singing and whatnot. Like they see the moments that I have with my heroes, and then even them leaving. I spoke to Kango 4 days upon his arrival at the hospital. That's the last time we spoke, because he already knew. I'm like, I got you in my prayers, which is trust. I got you in my prayers. You already know how I feel about you. There is no me without you, period. I mean, you said it. I could sing, rap, and dance in just one show. That one line is what gave me my career. So I'm forever in debt to you. And mind you, I didn't wait till he got sick in a deathbed to say that. Me and Kango been close for almost 10 years. Every time me and Kango hung out, I said it to him. I didn't know nobody knew he was sick. Nobody knew. Jesse D, nobody knew. Every time I saw Jesse, you know what I mean? It's like we start singing. He's like, "Yo, man, I see you, nephew. I see you, nephew." You know, he's very. He was always happy to see me. Like,
excited. It's like the first time I met Jesse, Jesse was just so excited because I was with Bow-Legged Lou at Trisco's, like repast, and like when we were leaving, Jesse said to Bow-Legged Lou, was like, "Who is this? Who is this?" He was just so excited to meet me, Jesse, and we took a picture. It's like every time like Jesse sees me, he would just like hug me and kiss me. This man just wouldn't let me go because it's like his energy was just on 10 every time he saw me.
Because Jesse, I'm gonna say this respectfully. What up, Dave? I see you, bro. Jesse and even his nephew said this, Steve and Khalil and all those guys. They said it in the obituary or whatever you want to call it. They said it in these different things. Jesse was the heart and soul of Force MDs. He was passionate. He said
Yes.
nobody was more passionate about
He
performing.
created the Force MDs, like how Bobby Brown created New Edition. Jesse created the Force MDs, and before they were the Force MDs, they were the Force MCs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, the blueprint to what I do and to what guys like my boy Edson Sean just joined in here. What up, bro? Brooklyn in the building. You know,
Brooklyn.
me and him are the living embodiments of singing and rapping and performing. So, you know, New Edition, Force MD, and UTFO, they're the catalyst for that. And throw Full Force in there too, because they produce those records to help them get to a larger audience. Because at that time, Full Force broke into the pop market with Lisa Lee, a lot of different other people. So the thing is that when I'm on stage, that's who I represent. I celebrate and I represent the folks, to me, that either got the props but ain't still being talked about or being given their flowers, as Dilly said, or just basically representing. Because every time I get on that stage, I know that I'm carrying the torch for all my heroes. Everybody knows that. I'm doing it my way, but still carrying the torch for excellence, for precision, for integrity, for to just keeping my brand in order. Because the thing is just that I've taught so many through my music, not just me sitting here and putting up a post or doing a live, but I've educated people even through my music without having to really talk on stage. That's why I make this joke all the time. They'd be like, well, y'all know I'm notorious for my posts and my sometimes long paragraphs. So we just here for the show. I mean, if y'all want to read more of that shit, go to the page. We here to do music tonight. And I tell people all the time, because then they see why I talk the shit that I talk. They see it, because when they come to the show, they're like, now I see why Lord he is. I see why he says what he says. Because when they come to see the show, they're like, oh, it is like that. He ain't just talking shit. He's ripping it down. And that's the whole point of it. Because if they understood the shit that I went through in this industry, to look the way I still look and to move the way I still move, then they'll understand why, no matter how small or how big the accomplishment is, I celebrates, I brags, I humble brag, I do all of it. I'm like, yes, I'm happy for myself. Thank God, thank the fans, and thank me for believing in myself to know that I could do it. You know what I'm saying? People can believe all day, but if you don't believe in yourself, you might as well hang it up. Forget about it. It's not arrogance. It's not arrogance. It's not conceit. It's simply having a belief system in an industry that does not want you to succeed. I'm the nicest person in the world you'll ever meet. I'm humble, but unfortunately, in the industry, it got me nowhere when I first started. Being nice.
Because when you, being nice is like people take your kindness for your weakness. And the thing that's common in the music business, when you first start in the music business, you're gonna go through a lot. And like, look at New Edition, like they went through a lot. With the popular, artists, music groups, but they've been through a lot, but they overcame their biggest obstacles. Has it's like the years later, they won Grammys, they won awards, multi-platinum albums.
Nobody went through it harder than New Edition did, because having a number one record on 13 countries, and you come off of a tour and you only get paid $1.87 to split among 5 people.
It's like, if you guys didn't see the biopic that came out in 2016, please watch it. It will never get old.
$1.87 for a number one record.
Yep. Brooke Payne pushed them hard. It was like, it's like, oh, we not gonna sleep. We gonna make sure this is right. We gonna put on an amazing show tonight.
Well, I mean, that's been their saving grace. I mean, I'm gonna quote Ralph on this one. Ralph always says, "Yo, Lord, man, we learned the hard way." That's why we're such a strong touring group, because album sales and all that other shit was never a plus for us. So there you go.
Yep. Yep. And speaking of your long paragraphs, Law, you have your own podcast, the Planet 12 podcast. How
Mhm.
long have you have you had your podcast for?
I'm gonna say, I mean, this is me throwing it out there. It's been a year and some change now. It's been pretty. It's interesting because we do it. I do it so much, and the great way the system is set up because obviously it's not your typical podcast because I pretty much go on when the artist is allowed to go on. Like I don't have a set day. It's like, oh, you have to do it this day because I realize that everybody's schedule is not my schedule. People have different things going. So when I talk with the people who I bring on here, it's like, okay, we can do it that day. So I just let people know 2 days in advance or sometimes a day before the actual podcast and they come in to tune in. But I want to make sure that they don't miss it because as you know, all the guests who I've had on my show, pretty much, I mean, it
Mhm.
speaks for itself.
And like almost all the guests that you have on your show, Law, your like show would be like over 2 hours, like almost 3 hours, over 3 hours. It's like how do you feel? Like like do you enjoy having like long interviews with your special guests?
Let me put something out there in the air because you said long paragraphs and you said here's the thing with the podcast part of it. But me and Bowlegged Lou were talking for 3 hours, and there was still like 200 people up in there, which is amazing. But here's the thing: you got to remember, we got years of history. That's my big brother. That's number one. Anytime I'm close to the artist, unless they have something they have to do and they got to end it short, it's gonna always be a deep, in-depth conversation. You know why? Because number one, they already know I'm not gonna ask them the same stupid ass questions
Mhm.
everybody else. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do that. I'm not gonna get into rumors and all that shit unless they want to address something on their own. And I just think because of the energy between everybody who I'm connected with that I've had on the show. You know what I'm saying? Like I never, just so we clear, now all the fans who are in here watching now, I never sit there and say, we're gonna talk for 2 or 3 hours. No, who want in theoretic, unless you would, but unless you with somebody you really, really love, the conversation ain't gonna be that long. I promise you that. Think about it. If you get around
Mhm.
people, some people talk a whole lot and don't talk about shit. I don't want to be around those people. If we're gonna have a long conversation, it has to be a conversation that's so heavy and so deep that we on the phone. I got friends who I've been on the phone with for 4 hours or 5 hours. I had friends who I've been on the phone with where we broke daylight. Yeah, real shit. Matter of fact, one of them, me. One time, me and Case was on the phone from like 3 in the morning to like 7 to 8. Real shit. Talking about music. Yeah.
Woo, Lord.
But
Shout
again,
out to Case.
shout out to Case. But here's the thing. That's one of my best friends. But we didn't plan that. I didn't get on the phone with him and say, "Hey, we're gonna talk for 6 hours." And we go, no. It's just
And
when you got.
because of it, if it's like let me it's a great conversation and like you have like this many like statements and idea in your mind, it's gonna keep
Mhm.
on going. It keeps you going, keeps you speaking, like and like if like ideas like pop up your mind, it's gonna keep on going.
And that's the thing because going back to the paragraphs, because all my paragraphs are not long, but I do have moments where if I'm talking about something that needs more detail, it's going to be long. It's not going to be super long, but it's going to be long enough to where to make
Yeah.
sure that you quote me from this point on. And that's been and you have to do that sometimes because what happens is that people will take your shit and misquote it, flip it the way they want to flip it. But see, the evidence is going to always be right there. So if they tell me, well, you said so much, I said, no, I didn't. I know exactly what the fuck I said. I said this, and this. Go back and look. Because what happens is that people will try to cross cut you and not let you say shit because they know that you're going to hit them with the receipts. So sometimes when I have an expression, you see, sometimes when I have a thought, sometimes it's very short. I have a lot of short paragraphs, sometimes it's even one sentence. I just leave it right there for the rest of the day. And I got other shit I got to do. But if I'm talking about something that I love and I'm passionate about, or if I'm checking somebody where I have to put all the information out there, oh yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
going to be 1 to 2 paragraphs long, sometimes even 3. I don't give a shit. Thank God that my fans have enough patience to read them, but it's not really for them to read. If they want to read it, fine. But sometimes, as a writer, you have to get things out. Or as Isaac Hayes would say, perfect example, the late great Isaac Hayes. They asked a lot. They asked Isaac Hayes in an interview because he was known for his long songs. He had like 15-minute, 20-minute songs. And remember, on the Hot Butter Soul album, 2 of the songs take up the whole fucking vinyl. And you know what they said? They asked us, like, why are your songs like 20 minutes long? And you know what he said? He said, because what I had to say couldn't be said in no 4 or 5 minutes. Hey.
Yeah.
Who am I to argue with Isaac Hayes, Black Moses?
Just
Isaac,
say your one liner, like one word, and it's over and done with. People will understand you. People will know where you're coming from. You're shutting somebody down. Say a one liner, over and done
oh
with.
yeah, look, I'm good for my one. Look, Ronnie Dangerfield is my hero. You know, he's the king of the one-liners. Oh, I got one-liners days, but then again, like I said, a lot of people, if you make a simple statement, people will make it complex because they get in their fit. Like, I'll give you a perfect example again. Yesterday, I put up a post about Madonna on my Facebook. And the interesting part about, I was talking about the plastic surgery, and I was saying, it doesn't look good. Her ass is like a permanent pamper. It doesn't look good. I said, my thing is, if you're going to get plastic surgery, I'm not telling nobody what to do with their lives, but my thing is with me is this. If you're going to get surgery, you might want to get somebody to do it all the way right, to where you really look presentable, because she looks flat out crazy. And again, that's my opinion. I'm the biggest Madonna fan, just so we clear. I'm not dissing her or nothing like that. I put up that one statement. I said, could somebody tell me I said, is anybody afraid to tell Madonna what some of us think about it? It was one sentence. I just left it there with a laugh. Next thing you know, I got like 30 comments, and about 5 of them was like, well, she looks great. Don't be a hater. And I'm like, a hater? I said, me? I was gonna laugh at that shit. So of course I had to follow up with the next post. I said, shout out to everybody who is in their feelings about a Madonna post that I made clarifying my opinion. I followed up with another. I put up a picture of Cher. I said, you know why I put up a picture of Cher? Because here's a woman that is public knowledge. Everybody knows Cher's had some work done over the years, but guess what? Look how good she looks. She doesn't look out of whack. Her body doesn't look disfigured. It doesn't look weird. She looks good. So obviously surgery did her right. Right. And again, that's my opinion, but nobody's telling Madonna, like, you, and mind you, you don't have to do that. Just so we clear, Cher was fine back in the days before she had work. Cher was fine. I looked at all the old videos when she was with Sonny. Like, she always been fine. And then Madonna, I like Madonna for who she was. I love Madonna for who she was. And even as I'm 63 years old. That's what I'm saying too. It's like, okay, but what is that going to do for you in the long run? Because your last 3 albums didn't really resonate with the people. So having a new look, that's not going to work in your favor. And again, that's my opinion backed up by what I know. And I'm allowed to have my opinion because it's my fucking page. I can say what I want. I'm not going to be
yes, you can.
So the fact that everybody was in their feelings because I put up one ass line. See that? One line, not a paragraph. I put up one line, and people got their drawers in the uproar thinking I was hating on Madonna. I'm like, no, I'm the biggest Madonna fan there is. I said, this shit don't look right. That shit, come on. I said, look at her ass. I'm like, that shit does not look, it don't even sit right. It look, and all the ladies who are in here right now, y'all know the rules, right? If you're gonna have a butt like that, your legs and your thighs have to match.
Make sure you go to the right doctor, ladies. Yeah. Go to the right doctor.
All the ladies in my feed right now, am I telling the truth? Is that, because I hear a lot of ladies say that, and I agree with them. If you're gonna have that, the legs and the thighs got to match. At least have it. Some girls, you know, they got a little bit more going, but that's cool. I'm just saying more so, but you can still tell it's really there. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you. Proportionate. Madonna looked like she's just trying. She's just trying. Like she's trying to be something that she ain't. She didn't take her time to sit there and be like, okay, well, like I said, that's why I put up the picture of Cher. Cher is 75 years old. Tina Turner, I don't think Tina Turner had any real work done. I don't think, and mind you, I don't really care if she did, but the thing is just that she looks normal. She's still a beautiful woman. She's still gorgeous. It doesn't change the theory, but when you start doing things like that, make it make sense. And it didn't make sense. That's the equivalent of me starting to wear pants below my ass. Picture me doing that at the age of 40 something. Now I gotta get these kids to like me. Yo, what up, son? What up?
Yo, pull is like I hate
First
dudes
of
that
all,
sad.
first of
Pull
all,
your pants on. Nobody don't want to see your boxers.
that's the whole point, because we wore
Didn't your
baggy.
mama raise you right? I
Listen,
hate that.
we wore baggy jeans, but I can promise you, if you look at some of my old pictures, I said our jeans were baggy as hell, but I can guarantee you when I lifted my shirt up, that's the only time you'll see the crack of my ass. Because basically, if they wasn't hanging off of my ass, they were literally like on the rim. They were on the rim of my back, like that little small section of my back right before it gets to the ass. So you didn't see any part of my ass crack if I was dancing, if the shirt happened to be there, because I wasn't wearing jeans that were going to be that loose to where a motherfucker can see it. So, but the whole point is, picture me wearing some shit like that now to impress. I'm not doing that shit. I'm me. People like me for me. Why the hell would I want to change anything about the way I look or who I am when people love the way that I dress, when people love the way that I look? Why would I want to fuck that up for anybody? Now, you know, teeth and all that shit, that's one thing. You know, people have different issues with their hair all the time. That's why I cut all my shit off, because when my shit started to go, like when my hairline started to disappear, I'm like, okay, yep, time to go. I'm not walking around here with no George Jefferson fucking hairline. We're not doing that. And I always look good with a bald head. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't miss my people. Like, do you miss your hair? I said every now and then I do, but when I get up in the morning and I gotta go, like, if I have a show, all I gotta do is what? Get up, brush, make sure my hair is clean, take my shower, shave,
And make sure your face is clean, lotion up.
You know that. Look, everybody know the face game is pretty much this ain't no Photoshop or filters. Y'all know that. This is my face.
It's like you see this face right there. People think I'm a teenager. No, I'm a grown ass woman.
Grown ass woman. That's right. Exactly. So it's like the same thing in that vicinity, because mind you, I take care of myself. I don't have no cosmetic surgery. And again, power to anybody that feels it. I tell people all the time, who am I to tell you what work you need done? If this now I've seen people get surgery for toes and things like that, and no, some people, you gotta remember, if your feet are jacked up or something, that's different. That's different. If you know, if you don't, and mind you, it's unattractive to yourself, not to people, because some people be like, I don't really care, but then if you don't really like the way, my thing is, do something about it. But I've always felt like some people just overdo it, and the thing is that you get obsessed with change everything about how you look and what you look like. And look, I make no bones about it. You know, one of my biggest heroes, everybody's hero, you know. Michael Jackson definitely had vitiligo because of his skin, because he got burnt. But the nose part of it, I really felt like he didn't have, in my opinion, I felt like he didn't have to do that, but he felt like he did. So who am I to tell him how he should feel? But my thing is, don't come out and use that shit as a bin. And people going to say stuff. I said, well, he should have known that people are going to actually, thank you, Shirley. You summed it up perfectly for me. Do it for yourself. Michael did it because Michael admitted why he got a nose job years ago. He said why he got a nose job.
And he told people the reason why he bleached his skin.
Well, no, he had to. That's different. The reason why he bleached his skin is because half of his face was burnt off from the fire. When he got caught in the fire at Pepsi.
During that performance.
Yeah, but remember, people thought it was just a scalp. I said no, it burnt his scalp, but it burnt this side of his face. And it's called pigmentation, and then you already have vitiligo, so your face start getting what? Spotty. Now you have all the whiter your skin is. So he's not going to come out as, look, he has an image to maintain. So Michael's not going to come out with a bunch of spots on his face. What he's going to do is, I'm going to get the other side to match with the other side. I can't, look, I mean, at least he did that, but it's a sensitive subject. But the thing is just that, the media tore him apart, because the thing is, he allowed himself to be that vulnerable when it came to doing things not for himself. Because remember, he did that. He admitted the reason why he did that was because he said that when he would go to a lot of the meet and greets, like back in the day in Jackson 5, he said, the kid says my nose is too wide. Michael was very sensitive. He didn't like the fact that people were teasing him about his nose and shit like that. I'm like, well, they would tease. If they tease you, they might as well tease Jackie and them too, because y'all all got the same fucking nose.
It's like, him and LaToya, they have the same nose, and like Michael is so soft spoken. You never heard Michael shout. Like, he was just very soft spoken.
Michael was an enigma that really struggled a lot with the process. That's why I'm loving this Janet Jackson documentary, which comes on in 20 minutes. So the thing is that, the thing is, I love this Janet documentary because she's celebrating her family.
Yes.
You know why? Because I've been celebrating, as most people know, Jermaine Jackson Jr. is one of my best friends. I'm close to some of the Jacksons and the Gordys. I'm close to a lot of them. So the thing is that, when I speak these things, I speak from love. I don't speak from this place of how the media does and whatever the case may be. So when I talk about Madonna, the point I was making was that I know why Madonna's doing that shit. Madonna's not doing that shit for a crisis. She's doing that shit because she thinks that it's going to keep her in the good graces of the record buying public. And because she got a 25-year-old boyfriend, it's like, and I have a feeling that he's the one that probably put her up to it. That's my opinion. That's, look, again, opinion. I don't know. I'm not.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Thank you. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but my theory's always been this: if you're going to have an opinion, you better have the facts to back up that opinion. If you say you don't like something, you have to be able to explain in full detail why you don't like it. Not just because I just don't like it. No, you have to give me a better reason than that. I've said it on a lot of my fans know what type of songs I hate, artists I ain't really too fond of, and I make a very clear statement each and every time. And people don't even ask me. They just kind of be like, I don't like it. Oh, you don't like them? I was like, listen, if you like them, that's great. I'm not telling you to stop liking them. I'm just not feeling that person like that. Sorry. And that's just, I'll leave it at that. I'm like, a lot of people, I tell people all the time, oh, they're great musicians, they're great singers. I just don't like I don't like a lot of their material. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody that says that about me. I don't expect anybody to like me. Whatever.
Yeah, it's like nobody's not gonna like you for who you are. If you move different, you're not gonna be liked. And it's fine, you can't let that bother you. I mean, you're not impressing nobody. You impressing yourself. Don't impress nobody.
Well, you have to love. Shout out to, what up, Lisa? What's up, Roseanne? I see you. The thing is just that you can't. That's been the key to my success in this industry over 20-something years. I've always pleased me first. As funny as that may sound, I've always pleased myself first, because for me, if I'm not happy, I can't expect anybody else to really be happy.
Shout out to Vincent Calloway of Calloway and Midnight Star. And Icon in the building.
He's one of the
Hi, Uncle Vincent. Hi, Uncle Vincent. How are you?
He's one of the reasons why I bought my first Casio keyboard. Well, my mother bought it, but after I heard the Planetary Invasion album, I begged my mother, can I get a Casio keyboard? I had him on my show too as well. Salute, Uncle, we love you. One of the greatest keyboard players in the world. And if you don't believe me, go listen to Electricity by Midnight Star on the No Parking on the Dance Floor record, or any Midnight Star album for that factor. And that's just, I want to get out the way. Salute, we love you, dude. We love you so much. We honor you. Thank you. So yeah, you gotta love yourself first. And in my music and in my business, I treat people. I'm sorry. I teach people, and so everybody always asking me, why you aging backwards, Lord? You look like, why you look so young? Because I love life. I take care of myself, and self-care is the most important thing. I don't care what's going on. If I'm not right, ain't nothing going to be right with the music or anything else that I do. I have to be right for me. So when I need my time off, I take my time off. When I'm shutting down for a day and I just want to play video games and watch a movie, I can do that because I'm a boss too. When you're a boss, you can do those things.
Yes, yes.
So my thing is just that it's preservation. Because when I hit the road, as you know, when I'm on the road, I'm on the road. It's hard. When I say hard, I don't mean like it's difficult. I mean like, come on, I got to get up, get on the plane. Sometimes we get off the plane, we got to go straight to sound check, and the show's not even till tomorrow. I'm like, the fuck? Huh? Why can't the sound check be tomorrow? Why can't the sound check be the day of the damn show? But then I realized I learned that we become a bigger production now. So for me, it's like, okay, I do it because I'm used to it. I've been doing this shit since I was 5. This is nothing for me. It's nothing for me. I've been doing this shit since I was 5. My body is, you're talking to somebody that would play church on Sunday and then be in a club with his mother the same night, singing in the bar at 12 years old. So you do this. So going from the church to the club, from the club to the church, they got to fly over here to do a show for a private event. That's my life. That's been my life since I was a kid. So my body is what, or what's the word I'm looking for? conditioned. That's the word I'm looking for. My
Uh,
body's
uh, uh,
conditioned for what I do.
yep. And like I know and people know that you're a storyteller, Lord. Moving forward, do you plan on putting a book out?
I'm writing 2 books now as we speak. I'm actually my one of them is 2 of the books is going to be both about music. So the first book is my autobiography. It's called Music, Money, and Girls: The Law Story.
Mhm.
I'm telling I'm telling most of my
Mhm.
business, not all my business, but I'm telling most of my business. Of course, people who I've met who've impacted me, my family, of course, my struggles and my triumphs, my victories, and things I had to go through and lessons learned. I mean, I gave scripts all the time on Facebook. I've always posted certain things of
Mhm.
the chapters I was writing. And the second book that I'm writing is a actual storybook called The Black Pop
Mhm.
Movement, where I talk about Whitney Houston, Luther Vandross, and all of the other
Mhm.
80s black stars that conquered the pop market at a very difficult
Mhm.
time when the MTV pop market wasn't friendly to black
Mhm.
artists. So you see people like Dionne Warwick on Solid Gold
Yeah.
and Dionne Warwick on Solid Gold and Aretha Franklin going platinum and Tina Turner becoming the biggest female artist in the game at that point in the
Mhm.
80s when they were past their career primes. That's a story that we don't talk about. The Pointer Sisters, we don't talk enough about them. So this book is going to talk about why each of those artists are very important to to what I call the black pop movement, because we don't talk about,
Mhm.
we often talk about their talent, but we don't talk about how their 80s success really
Mhm.
changed the game and opened the pit and
Yeah.
proved that age didn't mean anything.
Mhm. Yeah. Hmm.
So
And going back, like you said that you were being a teacher. Do you a plan on like going back into like a teaching like a history class or a music
um
class?
if the offer
Again.
if the offer is right, absolutely, I would be happy to
Hmm.
go. But definitely not for free, because you gotta remember, I retired from school teaching after 13 years. So the thing for me was that, after you do that, it's like, okay, I didn't did my pencil class. I done read. My kids are grown now. So the thing is that most of my students on Instagram, you probably see a couple of them every now and then. They chime in and be like, "Hey, Mr. Worrell, my favorite teacher in the world," like whatever. And I'm glad that I've impacted somebody. But I don't see
So
myself
you
teaching.
look like you wasn't a strict teacher. You was one of those chill teachers.
Oh no, contraire, mon frere. Definitely was not laid back at all. I was laid back with certain things, and I wasn't strict either. I just didn't take no shit. You gotta remember, I'm in Brooklyn. And the thing is just that if I know that the kids didn't respect me the first time, if I didn't present myself of that caliber, I was gonna have a hard time. It'd be like the Principal movie. It would be like Lean on Me
Hmm.
and Joe Clark and shit. The bottom
Hmm.
line is that I wasn't strict. I just wasn't having certain things. I was very potent about, I want my homework. I'm gonna stay on your ass so I get my homework. Try me and something's going to happen to you. And I had a couple of students that actually tried to try me physically, and I had to hem them up. So there you go. Oh yeah. So my thing is that in that capacity, I was that. But then when they got to know me, that's why you see a lot of them on my page now. A lot of them be like, "That's my favorite teacher." Things I didn't understand back then when I was 16. Now that I'm grown and I got kids of my own, I just want to say, Mr. Royal, so if I gave you any trouble in life, I'm like, no, you just have to learn. Now,
Uh-huh.
now, now I can talk to you man to man. Now you can understand why I was teaching you what I was teaching you. Same thing with some of the my female students. Like they're very they would thank me for believing in them and helping them to read and stuff like that. A lot of
You
people.
thought middle school? You thought middle
Well,
school, right?
when I started teaching, I started with first grade first. We were doing the early child care part of it, but then I saw a need in giving back in my community, because even though I'm teaching the little babies, they still had time because they had their parents, they had their parents and stuff. But the kids that were now coming into high school, even though I had just graduated 5 years prior, they were in trouble,
Hmm.
because guess what? The streets were getting even crazier at that point especially in
Hmm.
Brooklyn. A lot of Bloods and Crips thing that happened in Brooklyn at that point.
Hmm.
So my thing was,
Hmm.
I got to get these kids now, because if they don't have a figure like me in front of them to show them that they can make it out of here, they don't have to change who they are. I had to let them know, and that's the reason why I think I got a lot of respect too, is because they realized I wasn't just Mr. Worrell. I'm still Lawrence Taylor Worrell from apartment 3B, 959 St. Mark's Avenue, Albany Project. So in other words, respect me and I'll respect you. Disrespect me, I'm smacking the shit out of you. And I'm going to tell your mother about it. just like that. I told him just like that. You feeling
Oh, okay.
froggy? Leave. Oh yeah, it happened. I said, you feeling froggy? Leave.
You fought a student physically, law? You fought a student?
Yeah, it wasn't a fight because I had him like this at the wall. It wasn't no fight. One student thought he could do it because he think he walking around here because he thought he was because he was a little heavier than I was. So he's like, he ain't gonna do nothing with me. I had that motherfucker just like that. And the students were like, oh shit.
Because he was the class clown, he won't shut his mouth. If you the class clown and
No,
you
no,
won't shut your mouth,
not,
it was a
no, no,
problem.
no, he wasn't the class clown. This kid, I mean, we're great now, but he wasn't the class clown. He tried to break fly. Because you gotta remember, a lot of these students that come in here, they have this mentality because, you know, a lot of them, you know, they playing basketball and shit. They athletic, and they forget I'm athletic too. I don't play ball, but I play football. But I'm not your average school teacher. I'm not some beat up older guy that saw his glory years like Al Bundy, 4 touchdowns in 1 game and shit. I'm not beat up. No, I will fuck you up. I'm still physically. I still box. I still. People see my videos. They see me train.
It's like me. I don't get physical. If I have to get, I'm not the physical type. I'm the type that would just curse you out, give you that look. Trust me, if I give you that look, you bet you. I mean, they know not to like.
I'll curse you out first, but if you put your hands on me, if you something in my face like you want to fight, we got a problem. And mind you, just so we clear, wasn't no tough guy. Didn't have to join the game because all the game members hang out with me. Think about that. Put that video in your mind for 1 second. I never joined the game in my life, but most of my friends who I'm close to this day were all gang members. I don't tell you nothing about my hand skills and my self-respect. I don't know what else to tell you.
It's like, you know, just away from the hood. I never kept bad company. I was never a gang member. I was unique. I didn't take shit from nobody.
Yeah, you didn't have to. I mean, the thing is, because everybody thought you had to join the gang to be tough. I'm like, that's not necessarily true. And here's the funny shit. Most of my friends who were in the gangs, they were actually very smart. They were nerds.
Street smart, you know.
Not just street, no, I'm talking about book smart too. Not just street smart, they were book smart too. You'd be very surprised. You'd be very surprised when you look at some rappers and you think, oh, they just fool. I said, no, some people just love the thug life. And that was the era at that time. And I was mixed with all of them. After school, I'm hanging, we never had no problems. See what I'm saying? Never had to worry about they're gonna do something to me. They already knew I could fight. So I'm pretty sure they knew, okay, he ain't the one. We gonna fuck with him.
All right, Lord. Is there anything that you know you want to tell the people on here? Let me and them know.
Just keep living your life and loving your life. Just keep keep striving, keep grinding, keep pushing forward. Stay prayed up. Stay ready so you never. That's it.
Amen. Thank you so much, Lord, for joining my podcast. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure having you. I enjoy your conversations. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and we definitely gonna talk again.
Yes, we shall. Thank you, love. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody we have in here. Shirley, I see you. Just real quick, I'm gonna give people shout outs, Video Music Box style. Who else I saw up in here? Dilly, thank you for your love as always. Thank you. Appreciate
She's a big supporter.
Yes, she is. Absolutely.
Thank you, Shirley, for joining in.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Brooklyn style. BK to the fullest. Brooklyn.
Yes. All right, love.